Blah 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 blah. Hello everybody and welcome to I'll Tell You What TV. We've had a week break, but we are back to have a chat about the American Grand Prix. And good news as well, James is back with us, fully on form. So James, nice to have you back.
Yeah.
Started dying.
I'm feeling a hell of a lot better than I did a couple of weeks ago.
Well, I'll tell you what, James. Why don't you tell our listeners what the problem's been? Should we start off with you were having toothache and you had to have a tooth out?
Yeah.
And what happened after that?
So, me top right tooth it'll be about 2 months ago now, just started killing like mad. So I went to the dentist, got me back right tooth pulled out. Thought that'd be it. Ended up getting a dry socket, which basically means the hole just stays as a hole, and the nerve where your skull is exposed. So the nerves, like every time you eat, the nerves just exposed. So I were off for a couple of days. Have that sorted out in a fair bit of pain. Then I kind of felt like, oh, I'm all right. I think I had the next week I had a bit of a cold, and then about a week after that, another tooth started, and it was my bottom left, second from the back, just started throbbing. I'm in car on my own, looking in the mirror going, fucking hell, that tooth's killing. and I couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh, for God's sake. So, me being me, I just went straight to the dentist and went, this tooth's doing me anything. Can you laugh?
So now you've had 2 teeth out. And what happened after that?
So, after that, I was just in, like, agonising pain. Plus, apart from my toothache, mentally I haven't felt great. I think the pain were probably doing me head in as well. But yeah, we're getting a fair bit depressed. And so that second tooth, the hole in that one ended up getting a dry socket. But then it went and got infected.
And turned black.
And the night we did the last podcast was the night before I ended up like passing out in front room. Vicky phoned an ambulance and we went off to hospital. Now, one of the bad things about hospital is they don't deal with teeth. So paramedics turn up. I get me laughing gas. Even though it didn't make me laugh, it just took the pain away.
Should have hit your funny bone.
Well, this way, I was sucking away on it, and then I got in back at ambulance, and we're coming up to hospital, and paramedic, mate, you might want to have a bit more of that before you go in because they don't like it in hospital. You having this? So I'm like, yeah, okay. So I proper had a load more gas and air, and then I walks into hospital feeling a bit like lightheaded, like as if you're drunk.
Bit high.
Walks in there, and when we sit down to have like this consultation thing, this woman's like, right, what are you here? And I'm like, not in.
Oh,
not in pain
we've lost
because
you.
of the amount of- I'm not in pain because of the amount of gas I've just had. But then as I'm talking to her, I can feel the gas wearing off, and it started throbbing all upside of my head. And I'm like, oh, bloody hell, this is killing me.
Upside my head.
And they go,
Upside my head.
Yeah, but this is it. Because I come in from an ambulance, and I seemed quite just dozy.
No. Yeah.
Not like I was before, where I was literally screaming the house down because I were in so much pain. I was just like, oh God, this is well painful. And they were like, okay, will you take a seat out there? And I'm with all these people. And as the gas wears off, I start screaming again because the pain was just so intense. And the only way I can describe it is I've broke my arm before, but it felt like I broke a bone in my head.
Mm. So what ended up happening there? I mean, the hospital, from what I remember, they couldn't do it for you. So you were booked in for a surgery, I believe.
Yeah. So, while I'm in hospital, this grumpy nurse comes over and she's like, "Oh, you've got to slow your breathing down. You're breathing too fast." I says, "Can you give me some gas and air? Because I'm in so much pain. I can't take it anymore. Or can you give me some tablets or something?" And, oh, hang on.
James?
Yeah, what's it? Oh. Buns are burning? Oh, right, hang on.
Bloody hell. Yeah,
I've only just put them in.
You can tell James is back to normal-ish because he's waffling and he's got buns in the oven, which aren't meant to be cooked for another half hour.
I bet he's put them under the grill. Not in the oven.
Yeah.
Oh.
You've put the grill on, haven't you, James? Not the oven.
Put the grill on. Oh. No.
So the buns are ruined.
The buns are ruined.
Oh.
Stinks.
Oh.
You tell him, Vicky.
Oh, for fuck's sake. What a waste. Oh, they're all black.
They're not. Hey, they're not burnt. They're just rock cakes.
Oh.
Just wait for the smoke alarm to start going off.
Now we know how we ended up with bad teeth. eating burnt buns.
Oh, I can't believe that.
Well, while James hits his bun depression, I just want to quickly shout out to Mr. Snap who's commented on YouTube. Yes, we do take questions, F1 related or even non-F1 related. Feel free to put any questions in the YouTube chat. Just I know James hasn't been able, on the recent podcast, James has not been able to talk anywhere near as much as he would like. Because of his tooth. And I do find it kind of, it's not funny, but afterwards you have to laugh about it, that he had toothache, so he had a tooth out. That caused him to have toothache, and he ended up having a tooth out, which then caused him to have an infection and toothache and end up in the hospital, and he ended up having to have an operation, and he ended up having to have another tooth out. Although I don't know if he did actually end up with the third tooth out. That's what I'm trying to get to. But I do know that he was due for an operation on the 19th. So he's had that, but we'll have to see how he gets on. I mean, to be fair, the guy's been in a hell of a lot of pain recently, and for anyone that knows, toothache is not nice, and when you've got infections and stuff like that, it's not good.
Yeah, so I'm back now. Right. So, after the second tooth, so this had gone on for about a week, and I'd spent an entire week sitting downstairs in a chair, getting like 3 or 4 hours sleep a day. It was like bloody doing me head in. So then, after hospital, I goes to the dentist following day for like an emergency appointment, and they X-ray me, and they go, "Oh, Mr. Shaw, your back left tooth at top, it looks like it's cracked, so I'll have to pull it out." So like, oh, for fuck's sake, not another one. So then, but what she said was, she went, "You're having a lot of pain there at bottom where that other tooth we took out." I said, "Yeah." She went, "Let me just numb this back one because I think it's referred." And I'm like, "What the hell's referred pain?" She went, "Well, your nerve in your head is wrong." I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she went, "Your nerve is telling you that one of your teeth is hurting when really it's a different tooth." So I'm like, "You mean to tell me I had a tooth yanked out I didn't need having yanked out?" So like, "Well, let me numb this up and we'll see." So it goes and numbs up me top back tooth for other side, and the pain just disappears. And she went, yeah, it's that one there." I'm like, "For God's sake." So basically, because they didn't do an X-ray before they yanked the other one out.
Because you said that tooth certain pull it out. Yeah.
So basically, rather than just having one tooth pulled out, I've had
three.
But I'm not kidding you. As soon as she pulled that tooth out, I literally felt like I felt a bit crap. But the next day I woke up, no problems after that. A little bit sore, but I literally felt like my head was like ready to explode after that 2 solid weeks of pain. And originally I'd come off work because I was feeling a bit depressed, but like I felt like I'd not been able to actually work on making myself feel better because I were in that much pain. So this week I'm actually feeling like fairly alright, so hopefully by Monday I'll be all 100%.
Well, hopefully so. Right, okay, I suppose, seeing as we are an F1 podcast, we should talk about Formula 1.
Apologies, folks.
That's alright. Okay, first things first. One of the new predictions that we've been doing recently is Dick of the Day, which has to be one of the drivers. And 2 weeks ago on our last podcast, us three and Ray, who joined us on the last couple of podcasts, put forward who we thought might get Dick of the Day. And the way it works is, when we meet up now, we have to discuss between us who we would actually give Dick of the Day to. And if it turns out that one of us gets right, we get the point for it.
And if anyone's listening that wants to put their vote forward for their Dick of the Day, with any reasoning if they wish, feel free, write it in the comments.
Yeah, definitely. Mr. Snap, I can see that you've put your question forward. I will get to that shortly. Okay, so Dick of the Day. Now, with it being 2 weeks ago when we did our predictions, these guys will probably have no recollection of what predictions they did, other than Steve saying Hamilton for pole and the win, because that's what he always does. So, guys, just straight off the bat, who gets Dick of the Day? But there's something I want to kind of mention, in that I've had a little bit of difficulty picking who I would give Dick of the Day to.
I haven't.
But I have, because for half of the race, well, at least half of the race, but for most of the race, we didn't see anything other than the top three on camera. Now, in some respects, I don't mind that, because when you got a battle at the front, we want to see that. But there were phases of the race where there were battles going on elsewhere, and we never saw it. So it was very difficult for me to go, well, okay, beyond lap 2, I don't really know what anybody else did. But I kind of, my sort of recommendations would be possibly Vettel for spinning again, Stroll for diving up the inside of Alonso, or Perez for once again saying, he's holding me up, tell him to let me through, let me through. Because, I mean, he was a second and a half behind, he wasn't catching him, and he never got anywhere near to him for the whole fucking race. So they're three that I'm kind of undecided on.
I think with Perez, he just believes he's the number one driver and should get allowed, should be expected to be ahead given the position, which is just frustrating for me. They've been told they're not allowed to race now, so he's like saying, well, just let me pass then. And that's for me starting to get annoying. But my vote of Dick of the Day would go to Vettel, not just because of the spin, and it started from the practice session when he got his 3 grid penalty drop. For the fact that he got that alone, even though it's not on race day that he was given it, the fact that he ended up having a 3-place grid drop for the race, that for me gives him Dick of the Day. But for spinning as well, I mean, that he was lucky in the fact that Hamilton didn't have a good race.
Yeah, he was.
Otherwise, the championship should have been over.
But also, not only that, if Kimi Raikkonen won that race, and props to him, that will make Sebastian Vettel sit there and go, I could have fucking won that. If he can win it, I could have fucking won that, because I'm better than him.
I could have took some points off Hamilton.
Yeah, and with Vettel's spin, it reminded me, obviously, he had there was the collision between him and Hamilton in Monza, but it actually made me think back to Brazil a few years ago when he was in Red Bull, and he spun at turn 4. And it made me think, how many times has he done that in the sort of a battle for the title? How many times has he actually spun? And he's done it a few.
Well, this season alone, I think it's 4 times now.
Yeah.
Because you've got the one against Ricciardo this week, the one against Max the week before, you've got the one against Hamilton at Monza, then you've got the one with Bottas at Paul Ricard.
Yeah.
And that's just off the top of my head in a few seconds, and I'm sure there are others. But
Singapore last year. Yeah,
I saw a report today of a question that was asked to Ross Brawn, and his response basically was he feels that there's a fundamental problem with Vettel when it comes to racing wheel to wheel.
Yeah.
But I've said that for years.
Well, yeah. Ross Brawn also did say that He said, I certainly don't want to put Vettel in the dock, but these incidents can no longer be seen as coincidence. Rather, they would seem to indicate that Sebastian is a bit out of sorts at the moment. And I think he's right. So, no, so Steve, you'd say Vettel for Dick of the Day. So, James, what would your thoughts be on Dick of the Day?
I was thinking Grosjean.
For his late break.
Well, he just outbraked himself and ploughed into the back of Leclerc, lost his front wing and game over, and took Leclerc out as well. And I was kind of looking forward to see what Charles Leclerc could do. So, then you've got Stroll. But yeah, I think you've just got to put it down. Dick of the Day ultimately was Sebastian Vettel. I mean, what the fuck is he doing?
It's a good question.
I mean,
he's got to push and he's got to take risks. I get that, but
but you're on lap 1.
yeah, he's on lap 1.
Full race to do. Take your risks near end when you're like, well, if I don't do something now, I never will. I understand that. Lap 1's closest you're going to be to cars, and it's probably easiest overtaking opportunities. But if he ain't confident overtaking,
and not being daft as well, it was apparently clear in Saturday morning practice that the Ferrari's straight line speed was phenomenal compared to everybody else's. If you saw the side by side qualifying lap of Hamilton and Vettel, and seeing how much the graphic that showed how much Vettel was pulling away on the straights, unbelievable. So if you're driving that car, it would make sense to go, I won't battle a Red Bull in the corners, I'll battle it on the straight, because the Red Bull ain't going to compete with it on the straight.
But you're saying that through Sector 1, all through the weekend, the Ferrari was the fastest through Sector 1.
Yeah.
By a long way. And I don't mean fastest in speed, I mean in time. It was way quicker through Sector 1 than anything else.
The thing is, though, it was, but the time advantage came from the start-finish line to turn 1 and then down into turn 3. From turn 3 onwards, it lost time compared to Mercedes and Red Bull. It was the straight line speed down the main straight and after the hairpin that gave them the time advantage. So it wasn't in the... I know what you're saying, Sector 1 is a lot of corners, but it wasn't in the corners they were gaining, because if you look at the side-by-side comparison, it was in the double right-hander where Hamilton just closed up 2 tenths in half a corner. But, so, I can see what you were saying. It was the quickest in Sector 1, but most of it was from the first corner. Okay, so we would all say Vettel then, but I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you. What about Kevin Magnussen? Because some dickhead put too much fuel in his car.
I was going to say there was 2 drivers that were disqualified from the race, weren't there?
Yes, there was.
There was Ocon and Magnussen, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ocon for using more fuel than is allowed on lap 1, and Magnussen for using 105 kilos of fuel. This is what I don't... 105 kilos of fuel when the maximum you're allowed to use is 100. How has somebody put too much fuel in? Or do they... I mean, we hear quite often about, the cars are under-fueled, so they do a bit of fuel saving. Not in the Haas.
No. But I can't. That's not the driver's fault, though.
No, it's not.
But using too much fuel. I mean, there's a fuel flow regulator that's supposed to regulate how much fuel they can use any given time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how that would have allowed them to use too much in one lap and not other laps.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I can't remember exactly, so they didn't finish a lap down, did they? I'm just going to check the standings. I don't think they finished a lap down, so I was going to say they may have even done a lap less. No, they didn't. Ocon, well, a minute 39, and Magnussen was a minute 40. So may have been a lap down.
We were doing 1:39s at the end.
No, they weren't a lap down. It would have said plus 1 lap. So yeah. Well, I just don't understand how they put too much fuel in the car. It's as simple as that for me on that one. I'm interested to see what James thinks about this, because he's been a big fan of K-Mag all season.
He's on mute.
I thought he was being quiet. He's probably gone to check his buns.
Yeah, the fault.
Yeah, James. James.
Have we lost him again?
What's the chances he's gone for a shit? Right. Well, while James sorts himself out, I think we do have to agree that Vettel gets Dick of the Day, unfortunately, which means none of us get a point for Dick of the Day. While we're waiting, actually, for James, let's have a look at Mr. Snep's question. For any listeners, anyone that's tuning in, if you've got any questions F1 related or even non-F1 related, trust me, we don't mind talking random. Feel free to put your questions on the YouTube chat. Oh, James, is that you? No.
It's me, yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
Where the fuck have you been?
I was just tucking Vicky in, you see.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't take long, does it?
No. Yeah. But what a dickhead Vettel is, eh?
Yeah, so you have no idea what we've been talking about for the last few minutes, do you?
No.
No.
All I know is that Vettel, I'm sorry, but Ferrari should be going to him, look, I don't think this is working, mate.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I mean, I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. I think you're right. So you wouldn't have heard me mentioning about should K-Mag get Dick of the Day?
What did he fucking do?
Well, I've got deja vu. Somebody put too much fuel in his car. He used 105 kilos of fuel.
Well, it isn't his fault, is it? He didn't put it in.
Okay. He doesn't get Dick of the Day. We'll go with Vettel then. Right, I was about to get on to Mr. Snep's question, and then you reappeared. So I'm going to get on to his question, and then we'll go through the rest of the predictions that we did. Okay, so Mr. Snep is asking, most people agree that Verstappen's performance is still too unreliable. But do you believe Verstappen at his best would be better than Hamilton at his best, cars being equal?
I'd say they'd both be on a very, very equal thing. I think the only difference is Hamilton probably comes across as the driver who would make less mistakes, whereas Verstappen's still a little bit rough around the edges. But in terms of pure pace, I don't think there's any denying that Verstappen could keep up with Hamilton in exactly the same car.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my view on it is, even on Verstappen's best day, he's liable to making a mistake still that could cost him a position, the team points. I'm not saying Hamilton won't, but I just think that Hamilton, even on his best day, is less likely to make stupid errors.
Yeah.
Whereas Verstappen at the moment, even on his best day, can still make errors.
Yeah, I think this probably were Verstappen's best race this season.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is it's a good question, and I would love to see him go head to head. What I would say is that I was watching the Sky coverage this weekend, and there was a brilliant piece where Lewis Hamilton drove Johnny Herbert around the track, and it was quite funny to watch. And Johnny Herbert asked Lewis Hamilton as they were heading up to turn 1. He says, "Right, okay, it's the start of the race. You're heading up to turn 1. You got Vettel on your, Vettel on your left and Max on your right. What do you do?" He says, "Go left because Max is on your right." And it was a funny comment, but as in the race when Hamilton came to battle Max, I thought about that comment. And Lewis Hamilton did give Verstappen plenty of respect and plenty of room in their battle. I thought it was a brilliant battle. It's just a shame it only lasted a few corners. Now, some people may see it that Hamilton made a mistake, made an error, and went off the track. I don't necessarily see it like that. I see it as Hamilton was giving Verstappen plenty of room, because you'll notice as they got into a bit of a tussle, he gave him plenty of room on all occasions, because he knows that there's a possibility that there could be contact, and not because Verstappen's a shit driver, but because he will take a risk and he will fight, and he has got no fear in doing so. So I think that may be the difference, that Verstappen is fearless. Hamilton, I wouldn't say has got fear, but he's more mature, so he's got more of a Prost mentality to it now, where it's like Vettel will stick his car up alongside somewhere where it shouldn't be. Now Hamilton won't do that. He takes the Prost view and goes, well, I'll just play it a little bit safer, because if I go for it and crash out, no points. If I'm careful, I get points. So I think if you saw them both in the same car, if it was just a head-to-head race between the two of them, I think we'd see a more aggressive Hamilton than we see at the moment, and I think Hamilton would win. But if they were in the same team racing right now, you may see Verstappen get on top, because Hamilton has got more to lose than Verstappen would have. If Verstappen was Bottas at the moment and decided to fight, Hamilton won't take that fight because he can't afford to lose it. The last thing he would want is such a points lead at this moment to lose it all and end up not being the champion.
Yeah. I mean, in that moment where he was battling with Verstappen, he did the sums and he went 2 and 2 equals 15 points. Thank you for third place.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to do that than to be ending up like Vettel in some races and facing the wrong way and end up being at the back of the grid. Was it a mistake by Hamilton? I don't think it was, because Max forced him onto the dirty side of the track, and which was good from Max. And it was good racing, good clean racing, and it was where both drivers gave each other a bit of room. You don't see that with Max and Vettel, though, do you?
No, you don't see that with Vettel and anyone, really. Okay, let's have a look at how we got on with the rest of our predictions then. Okay, I suppose I better send it to you two as well, hadn't I, so you can have a quick look at how you got on. I have popped it up on the screen for anyone that wants to have a quick look at it, and we'll go through it in a second. Just find it to send to these guys. Now, Ray did do some predictions with us last week as well, so I can let you know how he got on. So let's crack on. Steve said Hamilton would get pole position. James went for Max Verstappen and I went for Bottas, so Steve was spot on. James was unlucky because Verstappen qualifying, he was very unlucky hitting that curb in qualifying and being out in Q2, and for me Bottas was really nowhere all weekend. For the winner, Steve and James both went for Hamilton, and I went for Bottas, so none of us get a point. But here's a question for you guys. Were Mercedes right or wrong to pit Hamilton under the VSC, knowing that it'd probably put him on a 2-stop?
No, I don't think they were wrong. And I think where they were wrong were keeping him out for those 2 or 3 laps before they pitted him. For his last pit stop, because they were all afterwards all saying, oh, he lost the 8 seconds to Kimi when Kimi kept him behind him. He lost another 10 seconds being out on worn tyres when he put on the same compound of tyres for like half the amount of laps to go. If you're going to put him onto the same compound of tyres, split that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I think it was Martin Brundle says, oh, they're going to have to pit him soon because Verstappen's closing in on the pit window, and it could have pitted and come out ahead of Max.
Yeah.
Instead of actually pitting and being about 12 seconds behind Max.
Yeah, he lost. I think he lost about 8 or 9 seconds in 3 laps, which, I mean, we're gamers. We've talked about it many times on our podcast. I know that America is a track that when your tyres go off, strange noises there, when your tyres go off, you lose a shitload of time. And unfortunately, that's what happened for Hamilton. His tyres were... I mean, the thing is, I was watching the broadcast and I made a note saying Hamilton's right rear tyres quite blistered. Now, for me, if I was an engineer sitting on the pit wall, I'd be looking at that and going, that ain't getting to the end, guys. We need to pit him. And we need to do it at the right time, give him maximum opportunity. Because if they'd have pitted him when... he was 17 seconds ahead of Kimi Raikkonen and another 4 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen, and the pit stop time was about 20 seconds. So he would have come out ahead of Verstappen, as you said, and then he would only have been 3 seconds behind Kimi Raikkonen.
Yeah,
and on fresh tyres, and he showed that when he did pit, he was able to catch up. Was it pretty much 12 seconds, right? So he'd have been able to do that within 4 or 5 laps, easy, and then he'd have got the rest of the race to overtake Kimi Raikkonen. So I do think Mercedes dropped the ball, but I do think they were going to try and one-stop it, and it didn't work.
Yeah, I think by the time they realised, look, you know, we're going to actually end up losing positions to Vettel if we stay out, they ended up having to pit. But what I am aware of as well is they didn't have any more of the softer compounds to put on other than the soft. So yeah, they had to put them on the hardest available, not any of the faster compounds like what Max was on.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have any left. Whereas Max did, because he started on the harder compound, but obviously didn't do as many qualifying runs.
Yeah, he didn't like how the soft tyre was handling, so when he was on the super soft, he was much happier. Your thoughts, James?
Yeah, I think Mercedes were kind of damned if they did, damned if they didn't, because really, Hamilton just needed to lead into turn 1. Once he was stuck behind, he were pretty much snookered. Yeah, it did look good at some moments, and yeah, like you say, lost 9 seconds in 3 laps, which is crazy. But even I were looking at the screen going, fucking hell, Lewis, you need to pit, look at the state of them.
Yeah.
And he still carried on. Yeah, I did think, oh, well, hopefully Kimi Raikkonen and Max, maybe their tyres will go off like a few laps from end. But it didn't happen. They had better tyre wear, so it's something... Sorry, it's something Mercedes need to have a look at and see why they just burnt through the tyres.
Could it be that they're being too cautious in their decision making? We've seen from Mercedes over the last few years that they've been kind of calm but ruthless with their decision making when it comes to strategy. Are we seeing too much caution from them now? Whereas Red Bull, they're happy to be aggressive. If they don't mind switching to a 2-stop strategy, if it may give them half a chance, lucky with a safety car or whatever it may be. But a Mercedes in that situation of going, oh well, we don't want to fuck up, so let's just don't really do anything, and then in turn fuck up.
I think in the past years they've been in a situation where they've not needed to worry about strategy too much because they've had the pace even if the strategy was wrong. Whereas now, if they fuck up a strategy, there's the other teams, Ferrari and Red Bull, that can capitalise on that. And I think this is the first season where they've realised if we don't get the strategies right, we're going to fuck up. Or they've realised it now anyway, even if it's too late.
Yep. Okay, on to the podiums then. Steve went for Hamilton winning, Bottas second, Vettel third. He only gets the 1 point because Hamilton was on the podium, but he wasn't in first. James went for exactly the same, Hamilton, Bottas and Vettel, so James gets a point. And I went for Bottas, Hamilton and Max Verstappen, which means I get 2 points because I got 2 of the podium sitters, just not in the right order. Now, James, you mentioned about you think it was one of Verstappen's best races. You know what? I think I'd kind of have to agree with you. By the end of the first lap, he'd gone from 18th to 9th. Now, I've not seen the footage of it, but obviously he was helped with a number of cars crashing on that opening lap. But 18th to 9th, and then to end up on the podium,
with the chance of winning it as well.
Yeah.
Because let's be fair, if Hamilton wasn't catching him up, he'd have been all over the back of Raikkonen.
Yeah. So I'm curious, James, what of his race what reason would you give then for saying that it's one of his best races?
Well, to be that close to winning the race, starting 15th.
18th.
18th, bloody hell. So
Yeah,
Kimi Raikkonen...
He changed the drive shaft.
Yeah, Kimi Raikkonen and Max Verstappen were on exactly the same strategy, only I think Kimi pitted a few laps earlier than Max. For Max to work his way through the field and be challenging Kimi at the end, even taking Lewis Hamilton out of it, just the fact that he were able to close in that much, that just shows you how good the Red Bull car is. I mean, if that had a Ferrari engine in it, in that Red Bull, it'd have lapped everything.
Yeah.
Well, what about talking about the Red Bull? Daniel Ricciardo.
Yep.
Right. He was, I think, 8 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen when he had his incident, when his engine switched off or whatever.
Yeah.
He could potentially have won that race.
That's what I thought. As it got to the end of the race, I did think, well, hang on a second. Could Danny Rick have had a chance of winning this race?
Because in theory, he'd have been 8 seconds ahead of Max. But I stand by what I said halfway through the season when he signed for Renault, he won't finish ahead of Max Verstappen. And now I've got conspiracy theories coming all out everywhere.
It can't be coincidence. It can't. Well, okay, it could be coincidence, but I think Danny Ricciardo has had more retirements from every type of session, practice, qualifying, race, more retirements this season than probably the last 3 combined. In a top running team. Now, would it be wrong if, let's say I was part of the Red Bull team and I said to you guys, okay, Steve, you know what, you're right, we don't give a shit what happens to Danny Ricciardo, so we don't care, we're not giving him any upgrades, we're not giving him fresh parts, and we don't really give a shit if he don't finish.
Well, there'd be no point in him having him in car. You might as well already promote Gasly, aren't you?
Yeah, but there could be contract stuff though.
Yeah.
But I could see somebody, maybe Christian Horner, says, you know, when he gets down to turn 11, flick that switch, turn his engine off, switch all his electrics off. Because to do it at turn 11, it's one of the slowest corners on the track, safest place to do it. It just seems strange that it's happening too often, and it seems to happen when he's ahead of Max Verstappen.
It is an odd one, that's for sure. Okay, on to the next one. First to crash out. Steve said it'd be Magnussen. James said it'd be Grosjean. I said it'd be Vettel. I was hoping. And none of us were right, because technically nobody did crash out.
Stroll and Alonso were out.
No, he drove back to the pits and then retired.
So that's being out, isn't it? Can't carry on.
Well, it's not what I would classify as crashed out for the purposes of our predictions, but you know what, James? I'll give it you, because none of us went for Alonso or Stroll. So no, it doesn't affect the points anyway.
You can open a can of worms here, because if you're going to give it him and say he's technically right, from this point on in the season, if somebody has a collision and makes it back to the pits and they've been voted for on our predictions, then it has to stand.
No, I'm only saying it to. I'm taking like the guy in a marriage situation. It's like, look, you're wrong, but I'm going to say you're right to avoid any argument.
Until next time.
Yeah. So yeah, so none of us got any points for that. Dick of the day, none of us got any points for that either. Steve said it'd be K-Mag. James said it'd be Perez. I said it'd be Perez. I still think we could have given it to him for his typical whinging. It'll be even worse in Mexico. He needs to qualify. If Perez, right, he needs to qualify ahead of Ocon, right? Because it's an odd situation with force injury in a way. They're keeping Perez, right, who is continuously being out-qualified and bettered in the races by Ocon.
Yeah.
Who nobody's taken at the moment, although I do still think he'll end up at Williams. They just want him on a multi-year deal. So Perez needs to out-qualify Ocon in Mexico and be ahead of him through turn one to have any possibility of having success in his home race.
Yeah. Talking about Ocon for a minute though, it's that Toto Wolff said he's guaranteed to be in Formula One in 2020.
Yeah.
Now it's interesting that that's also the same time that Bottas's contract expires.
Yeah. I think that is the plan.
Yeah. But obviously he's not said it. He's not said he will be in Mercedes in 2020. He's just said he's guaranteed a seat in 2020.
Yeah.
But I just feel sorry for Bottas, but he's not been doing it. He's not done the job right. Well, he's not done it wrong, but he's just not as good as what people. They need someone that's going to challenge for the championship, and he's not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you could say he's not being allowed to, but he was allowed to up to the point where it's obvious it's not going to happen. But it's got
at least he should have been able. If he were going to keep his job, he needs to be taking the points off Vettel, and he couldn't even keep him behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the thing. When Hamilton and Rosberg were teammates, Hamilton would win and Rosberg would be second, or Rosberg would win and Hamilton would be second. With Bottas, I mean, don't get me wrong, he plays a brilliant team role. Can't fault him at all for that, and I would love to see him do better. But Hamilton wins races and Bottas isn't coming second enough. Or when, like in America, if Hamilton's not winning it, Bottas should be. Now, go on.
I was just going to say, a moment ago, we were talking about Hamilton's strategy and whether they got that right or wrong. Basically, Bottas's strategy is what Hamilton was going to do.
Yeah.
And he fell back at the end of the Grand Prix and lost positions. So you've got to say that what Hamilton did strategy-wise must have been okay or better than what originally, whether they pitted under the safety car or not, him pitting again at the end was obviously a better thing to do because it would have benefited him more so than Bottas' strategy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, James, you mentioned about Mercedes burning up their tyres and Hamilton did a bit. The FIA, or should I say Pirelli, up to the minimum tyre pressures, rear tyre pressures by 1.5 psi or bar, I think it was, after qualifying, which means nobody gets to test a higher tyre pressure. And quite a lot of people were saying that could be a massive problem. I must admit, I would be a little bit pissed off if I was a driver, an engineer or a team manager if they're making that kind of change at that time. I think I would be protesting.
Without any practice.
Yeah, I'd be protesting that unless they could prove safety grounds. And by prove safety grounds, I mean show me a tyre from qualifying that is going to basically tell me that if you use this in the race, it's going to pop. Because conspiracy theorists could look at this a number of ways. Was it a way of slowing Mercedes down and helping Ferrari or helping Red Bull or whatever it may be? But when you look at it, Verstappen had no problem with tyre wear. Even taking the super soft tyre longer than anyone really took the soft tyre. And Kimi Raikkonen had a great race, didn't really suffer with tyre wear until the last couple of laps. So conspiracy theorists could have a fucking field day with it, but I must admit I would not be happy with that kind of change being made at that stage.
True, but I actually liked, as a viewer, as a spectator, the fact that there was that change, and when they were going into the race with the unknown.
That's the contradictory part of it, isn't it? I mean, on the Sky commentary team, I think it was about 4 laps from the end. Paul di Resta came over the radio, not radio, but it was a part of the broadcast team, and he says, "Crofty, can we just scrap Fridays altogether?" Because with it raining Friday, nobody had the knowledge of the tyre lengths and max pace. And
didn't we say this a couple of podcasts ago?
Quite possibly, yeah. And it did make for an exciting race, that's for sure, certain. Okay, on to the last prediction that we made then. Most positions lost. Either of you got any ideas of who it was?
Danny Rick.
Is that because you've seen it, James getting the point on the picture?
No, I'm not looking at the picture. I'm just thinking that he was quite high up and didn't finish the race.
Yeah.
And I had a disagreement with you, saying that it's got to be somebody that finishes the race that loses the positions. And I said not someone that. Yeah.
Okay. Steve went for Kimi Raikkonen. The funny thing about that, right? All season, Kimi Raikkonen has not gained a position at the start of the race. The one time we do a most positions lost, you pick Kimi Raikkonen, he gains 1 place and wins. So yeah, that serves you right for picking Hamilton for pole and winner every week. James picked Danny Ricciardo and gets it absolutely spot on, so another point for James. And I went for Vettel, which, before Ricciardo was out of the race, Vettel had lost the most positions, but then gained them all back again.
He'd lost the most after qualifying.
Well, yeah. So for the points, that means that James is now on a very respectable 25. I'm up to 31, but Steve is still leading the way on 34. Would you like to know how Ray got on with his predictions? You tell James he's loving his predictions points. Would you like to know how Ray got on with his predictions?
Go on then.
Right, he said Hamilton would get pole. He didn't.
Ding ding ding.
He did.
He did, yeah, 1 point.
He did, yeah. He said Hamilton would get the win. He didn't.
Oh, no.
He said the podium would be Hamilton, Bottas and Vettel, so he'd get 1 point for that. First to crash out, he said it'd be Magnussen. Dick of the day, he said it'd be Magnussen. And most positions lost, he said it'd be Ricciardo. So he matches James for points there.
He was copying me.
Well, looking at it, actually, there is a couple of differences between you, but the things you score points on. No, sorry, Ray got 3 points, not 2 points. He outscored you, James. Oh dear.
I think every time we've had a guest on, they've outscored James.
Yeah. What I will say though is, right, with the new artwork that we have for our podcast, James actually predicted the winner some time ago.
Oh yeah, there was a picture of Kimi on front.
Picture of Kimi up front with, is that Max Verstappen next to him?
Yeah, I think it's all like, I can't remember now. Yeah, Max Verstappen. But
sorry, James. Are your buns still in oven, or have you been done?
No, they're all burnt. They're in bin.
Oh dear.
I know. Oh, wanting a sweet treat. I've got the smell of smoke in the air.
Yeah, just saying on that picture, it's Raikkonen, Verstappen, and then Bottas.
Yeah. Okay. Right. On to whatever you want to discuss from the race. I'll tell you what, actually. Meow. Meow.
Yeah. What the hell was that?
Meow.
I was like watching it. It's like turning to play. I was like, who's making that noise? Meow. Meow.
I laughed I heard it. I was like, "What the fuck?" You could hear, like, on the Sky broadcast, you could hear Crofty and Brundle sort of chuckling to themselves. Now, have you seen anything else or heard anything about this?
No.
I've heard it were everybody's favourite reserve driver, Van der Gaard.
Because he's a troll.
And apparently, we were doing commentary in the booth next door to Sky, and they're just taking piss.
I'm not sure that's right.
Right.
One of the reasons I say that is that it was on the FOM feed. It was on the feed that went out to every broadcaster, right? So every country heard it. Sky F1 Facebook page actually put a video clip of it on their Facebook recently. I was going through a lot of the comments, and there's people going like, "Yeah, I'm in Germany and I heard it," and some say, "I'm in Abu Dhabi and I heard it." So like, it's been heard everywhere. And the amount of people.
There's got to be a microphone near the track then.
Maybe. The theory is that Brundle knows exactly who it was, and the going theory is that it was the helicopter cameraman. Because you might not know this, Steve, but on Friday, Brundle was due to go up in the helicopter. I saw the clip of it. Yeah, right. Well, he went up on the Saturday instead.
Yeah.
So there was a chat after, like a press conference afterwards, or something like that, and Brundle was in it, and he was asked if he knew who it was, and he didn't really answer the question, but he gave off the opinion that he knew exactly who it was. So the running theory at the moment is that it was the helicopter cameraman or pilot. It'd probably be the cameraman who was making the noises while he was following the cars. But I guess we'll have to wait and see if that's true. But because it was on the FOM feed, it does mean that it has to be someone with access to the FOM feed. But I must admit, I found it funny as fuck.
Yeah. I was wondering if it was Alonso, because he would have been out of the race by that point. And if he's near a microphone that's picking up the cars and stuff, and he's like, meow.
Well, I suppose actually, yeah, that's all you'd have to do, isn't it? Because they do have microphones near the track, so you would just have to stand by one of the microphones and do that.
Well, they have microphones on the cars as well, so if they opened up a microphone to Alonso's car, if he stood near it, or one of his mechanics,
maybe it was the mechanics of Danny Ricciardo's Red Bull.
Oh, maybe.
Could have been. Probably sat there going, "This is what the car should sound like." Meow. Talking about car sounds, have you got, Toro Rosso running the Honda engine, and they've brought the newer version of it to the last couple of races? Have you two heard how raspy that car is on low throttle, low speed?
Yeah.
Which car, sorry?
The Toro Rosso.
Oh, yeah, well, it was like that. When it were in the
McLaren.
The Honda, always sounds a bit raspy. But
sure it's not margarine, but
I did watch a clip on board with Brendan Hartley
from the start.
And you said last time that like you've just got this feeling that it's going to be right for Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Brendan Hartley must have took at least 300 metres out of Stoffel Van Dorn in a straight line on lap 1.
Yeah.
And he just breezed past the McLaren like it was standing still.
Not only that, what must Stoffel Van Dorn have been thinking at that point? Lap 1, on the back straight, Toro Rosso passing him on one side, Toro Rosso passing him on the other side.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something he wasn't thinking. I'm shit, and that's what he should have been thinking.
Well, he's off to Formula E next year, isn't he?
Why don't they put Norris in that car now? What harm can it do?
Well, interestingly, and this is something, perhaps the reason why Red Bull is still running Danny Ricciardo. one of the things, for anyone that doesn't know Martin Brundle, not only has he been a racing driver and a commentator, he's also been a driver manager before. He was David Coulthard's manager, and he's been a few other drivers' manager as well. And he's been very good at negotiating contracts. I think at one point he may have even been helping Lewis Hamilton with his contract a few years ago. And one of the things that Brundle said recently was, because he was asked that question, why not just take Van Dorn out of the car, put Norris in? And Martin Brundle turned around and said, because more than likely in his contract it will state if that car is ready to go out on track, it'll be Stoffel Van Dorn that drives it in the race. And that's part of the contract that can't be broken. So if the car is ready to race, it's him that's in it, unless he is medically unable to do so. And it's probably the same for Danny Ricciardo. Because I wouldn't be surprised if you're Danny Ricciardo, he's got to be thinking, I'm getting screwed here every fucking time. This can't be coincidence. So, yeah, I mean, for what I will say is, since they announced that Norris is going to be driving the McLaren, he has had every FP1 session so far.
Yeah, which is fair enough.
Yeah, I would definitely say. I would definitely agree with that. Okay. Anything that stood out in the race for you guys? James, anything that piqued your interest?
Well, like I've already said, Vettel should have won that, because it were clear that the Ferrari could. They fucked it. He's got no hope at championship now. Unless Hamilton breaks his leg, that's the only way he's going to win.
I think
Hamilton only has to finish in 6th place or above, and there's nothing Vettel can do about it. He's champion.
I think he only needs to outscore him by 5 points now. Well, here's a question for you then, James. You may have heard that. I mean, we talked on our podcast a couple of weeks ago, and Steve mentioned it, that have Ferrari been off the pace recently because of this sensor that the FIA, additional sensor the FIA have put on, or is it simply down, and this kind of was confirmed, is it simply down to the fact that Ferrari took the car back on upgrades? They went back to what they had used at Spa. At Singapore they brought new upgrades, and the next 2 races they brought upgrades, and they've basically fucked them all off, gone back to what they had at Spa, and all of a sudden the car's really fast again. So do you think that that is a big factor in what's happened in the championship?
Is James answering this
No,
one?
no. I just think it's just the pressure. He just hasn't been able to cope with the pressure. Technically, throughout the course of the season, that Ferrari has been the dog's bollocks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been more than good enough to challenge for the title. And he's just fucked it.
Yeah.
There's no else to say other than Sebastian Vettel should be thinking, I hope I don't get sacked.
He should be, yeah. I mean, he's got to be kicking himself. I mean, maybe that's the problem, that he's cracked. It may sound a bit harsh to some people to say that he's cracked under the pressure, because to be honest, I don't think I'd cope with the pressure. I struggle coping with the pressure of trying to have a shit when you got constipation, let alone racing an F1 car. I mean, shit. I tried out my new stereo system on my racing rig earlier today because my neighbour was out, so I turned the volume up. It vibrated me so much I had to run to the bathroom to have a shit. it literally rattled me inside so much. I think it knocked something loose. But he's got to be kicking himself, because Vettel has fucked up and made mistakes. We've mentioned that. But how many times in the races recently where he's made mistakes, he's actually had then a very good drive to recover? If he'd just had that drive, he'd have won races.
People moving out of the way.
Mm.
It's like with Max Verstappen. I'm not saying Max did shit, 'cause he did very well getting 2nd place. But how many of those overtakes were overtakes?
Well, I don't know, because they never really showed them.
Well, this is the thing. A lot of them were just drive-bys because people were like, well, he's not in my race.
Mm.
So it's like, I don't know. I don't know what you could do to prevent, to make it so that these guys do have to fight to come through the field. But a lot of it is to do with performance. But
yeah, if you gave somebody a car which was a front-running car, which was only a second quicker than the back marker, then everybody would be defending like fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas now, because there's a 4-second gap between a Ferrari and a Renault, Hülkenberg and Sainz just don't even bother, because it's like, well, there's no point.
Yeah. No, because their battle is to try and get fourth in the championship, and so there's no point in them battling the top 3 teams.
I mean,
But that just deprives us of action, though.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the concept, the thought process of, I'm not going to battle this guy, I'm not fighting him. But it's like you said, James, if the fight was much closer from front to back, they can't afford not to defend. Because if they lose to one, they may lose to a few. And, I mean, hopefully the sport will improve. What I will say is, I mean, for me, the race this weekend, I mean, we haven't talked really anything about Kimi Räikkönen. For me, seeing him win his first race in 130, I couldn't have been more happy. Don't get me wrong, I wanted Hamilton to win the championship in that race. It would have been nice to see. But Kimi Räikkönen...
It was good to see.
Yeah, I mean, for me, one of the highlights of the race was on lap 20, when Hamilton was right behind Kimi Räikkönen. It's when Räikkönen's tyres were struggling, Hamilton had pitted and caught him back up, and you could tell that Kimi was fighting for everything. And he was doing a great job. And he came on the radio and said, let's not do anything stupid. And
do you know what? At that point, I'm thinking, what does he mean by that? Because surely it's up to him to not do anything stupid. So if he's saying to the team, let's not do anything stupid, I was wondering whether the team were actually going to say to him, stay out and keep him behind you as long as you can to let Vettel catch him up.
That's what I read the message as.
Yeah.
Don't you try and make me stay out longer than I fucking need to in the hope of Vettel catching up. Because he knew he had a chance of winning that race. That's how I read it. How did you read it, James?
I just read it as, don't make any stupid decisions like you normally do.
You normally do. You're not wrong.
But yeah, to be fair, well, the winning strategy was what Kimi did, but it was so close, and I think that's... You don't need... I mean... I was kind of made of like, if he can get past Max, he's done it. And he tried it round outside of Hamilton on Max Verstappen, and he just got sucked off into miles of painted red and white. But then when he came back on straight away, I just turned to my dad and went, nah, it's over now, because it's going to take at least a lap to get rid of all that shit off his tyres.
Yeah.
But then to see Sebastian overtake Bottas, I was kind of, in a way, I was like, well, it don't really matter now, because even if Hamilton had got second place, it'd have had to go to next race anyway. But, you know, either way, I just think if Sebastian Vettel really wanted to win this title, his teammate in exactly the same car showed him how you do it.
Yeah. Well, a little bit like Danny Rick announcing that he's going to Renault has had nothing but disaster. Kimi Räikkönen announcing, or Ferrari announcing that they're getting rid of Kimi Räikkönen and he's going to Sauber. Kimi Räikkönen has shown that he is more than capable. And in all fairness, the three of us on our podcast from day one of the season have been questioning whether Kimi Räikkönen is good enough to be in the car. And to be honest, since Monza, he's proven more than good enough to have been in that car.
How much Ferrari are holding him back to try and help Vettel.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder how many more points Raikkonen Raikkonen would have had if they'd have just let him race, maybe he would have been in a better position now to take the title to Hamilton rather than it being Vettel.
I mean, I'm trying to think back when, if any of the listeners know the answer to this, feel free to comment on it. I know that in Monaco, Ferrari effectively switched Raikkonen, or was that last year? Raikkonen and Vettel around. That was last year, wasn't it? Fucking hell, that's how bad my memory is. I'm trying to think when was the first time this season Ferrari effectively held Raikkonen back and advanced Vettel. Because I'm pretty sure.
One.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was early on. Because I vaguely remember us three saying it's a bit soon for this. And if I remember rightly, Ferrari would have done something like just simply keeping Kimi Raikkonen out about 10-15 laps longer than his tyres could cope in the hope of blocking people and helping Vettel. So if anyone knows when it was that sort of first happened, feel free to comment it. But it does sort of hint at what you were saying, Steve. If Ferrari had just let him race and maximise his points, he may have had a better chance of winning the title than Vettel.
Yeah, I genuinely think that would be the case.
I personally don't think Kimi Raikkonen is on the same level he was back in 2007.
I'd agree with you.
But he's definitely not shabby, and he's definitely can deal with pressure. But me dad always says Kimi Raikkonen always comes across to me dad as a bit safe, whereas he says Sebastian Vettel's a bit of a takes no prisoners, but he might imprison himself.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I just don't think Kimi Raikkonen is in a position. If he had equal opportunity with Sebastian, I still don't think he'd be able to mount a championship challenge.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting, as you say, to see what it would have been like if it had constantly been no all's bad, just go for it. It probably would be a hell of a lot closer. But Sebastian Vettel, I'm just baffled by him. Absolutely baffled.
Well, there was an interesting question put to the Sky commentary team at the last race, which was, it was during one of the practice sessions, may even have been this Friday actually, and they were talking about Hamilton and comparing it to Vettel. Hamilton's multiple championships, Vettel's multiple championships, and it was on the back of Alonso's comments actually, when Alonso was asked who his top 5 F1 drivers, who he would say is his top 5 F1 drivers, and he said like Fangio, Schumacher, I think it was Niki Lauda, there was a couple of, and he added Hamilton. There was no Vettel in there, and it was on the back of that, and somebody had tweeted in saying, why do you dismiss Vettel's championships but you don't dismiss Hamilton's? I mean, surely Hamilton has been in the best car when he's won his championships, and people dismiss Vettel's because he was. And I would say you can, I mean, the answers that were given by Crofty, Paul de Resta and Johnny Herbert, I think were interesting and right. They said we're not dismissing them, but you look at Hamilton, yes, he's won championships when he's been in the best car, but he's also won a lot of races when he's not been in the best car. And when it comes down to he's got to compete for his championship at races where his car isn't the best, he can still win. That's why we rate him as a better driver. So I'm interested whether you think differently, or if you just don't think Vettel's a dick, or what it might be.
Well, you know yourselves just from Monza. I mean, the qualifying session at Monza, that Ferrari were head and shoulders way above Mercedes. I think it were over half a second. And if you think, half a second a lap, you should be miles out. And for Vettel to fuck up and Hamilton to then persevere with Kimi and eventually win, just shows you the class of the guy. And I mean, I'm thinking back to like 2009 when the Brawn and Red Bull were out winning everything. And Hamilton still won. I think he won about 4 races in a proper dog shit car.
Yeah, that is one of the big differences, definitely. Okay, from this weekend's race, there was an interesting point. I know Steve mentioned it to me a couple of nights ago. Well, it can't have been more than a couple of nights ago because that would have been before the race. But there was something odd that happened with the race. I kind of hinted on it at the start of the podcast. In that, I think the race was very exciting. Seeing 3 cars battle for the lead at the end is brilliant. That's what I like to see in Formula 1. I was excited. I actually wrote a note saying, actually, what lap was it? Okay, lap 51. I'm busting for a piss, but I can't miss this. I've not written anything that hints at that all season. And it was brilliant to have that. Who's going to win? I don't know. I want Hamilton to win, but I want Kimi to win. But not if Verstappen wins, then that's historical. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm a bit pissed off because I have no idea what happened in the rest of the race for other people.
Oh well, this was it. When Brundle won, it's going to be really close now because we're coming in at final 10 laps, and Kimi Räikkönen was coming up behind a right guy. And he went through and he was like Sainz, Hulkenberg, and he went through them all and went, they're all battling like tooth and nail. I'm like, why aren't we fucking seeing it? Because we've had 10 laps. Yeah. We've seen fuck all.
And not only that, there was one. Sorry, go on.
It comes across as after the first lap, everyone behind the top 3 were just followed around in formation. Well, that's how it comes across, because you didn't even get informed of when people were making overtakes or somebody had gained a position.
Yeah. I mean, I can't fully blame the commentary teams for that because they could only go off the feed that they're given, and it was very biased. Now, one of the things I spotted was, I think it was just before the comment that Steve mentioned or James mentioned about Brundle saying there's like 4 cars, they're catching up to 4 cars that are having a battle. There's actually a camera shot from at the top of one of the stands, and they're looking down at the twisty section at the start of Sector 3, and there was a woman that the camera was on, like Kimi Räikkönen and Verstappen, but a woman pointed, and in the distance you could see 4 cars and 2 of them were side by side. Never saw a replay of it, didn't know anything about it. Now, I fully understand when you've got a 3-car battle at the front, you want to watch it. No problem with that. But there was 50 laps before that. I've no idea what happened with the rest of the grid. Yeah. And for me, having done, it's not in the real world, it's in the gaming world, having done broadcasts and having done commentary, that's not good enough for me. And it's not just because I do a podcast and I've no idea what to say about the rest of the stuff. It's from a fan perspective. Yes, I like Hamilton. I want to see him win races. Yes, I like Räikkönen, and I want to see him win races. I don't like Verstappen, but I respect his racing ability, and I enjoy seeing that. But I'm also interested to see what's happening to Ocon, Perez, Magnussen, Grosjean. I would say Stroll, but I don't fucking like his eyebrows. He needs to get back to Sesame Street. I want to know what's happening down the grid. And
yeah, but it's also right. If this was to say carry on and you don't see too much of the mid pack, and then all of a sudden you hear that one of these drivers has got promoted to one of the top 3 teams, think, well, hang on a minute, what's he done all season?
Yeah,
you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know what kind of driver he is. You don't know what he's like, what he's about, because you don't get to see anything of him.
Yeah.
You need to see something.
I mean, here's an example of things, right? You may have noticed or may have heard that McLaren have got a new sponsor. They're sponsored by Coca-Cola. The commentary teams were not allowed to say the name of their new sponsor for whatever reason. But I'd ask you this question. Did you ever see the sponsor's name on the car? It was on there, but I never fucking saw it. Because
it got wiped off, didn't it?
He prefers Pepsi. But so there's a concern in. We've talked about it a bit before. Like if I was a sponsor and interested in Formula One, if you're not sponsoring a Mercedes, a Red Bull, or a Ferrari, there's no fucking point.
There is no point.
Yeah, and that's.
No fan stood at the side of the track can see them fucking sponsors unless it's plastered all over like a Red Bull. You cannot, unless you're a full-on title sponsor. There is no point.
The only time you get to see them, to be fair, is yes, they get put on the car, but 9 times out of 10 they get put on the driver's shirts. Yeah. So when they're in press conferences, that sort of stuff.
That's when you see it,
or being interviewed, that's when you get to see it, not necessarily the fact that it's on the car. Apart from models get made, people buy models of the cars, then it's on the model of the car.
You just mentioned model. Did either of you notice how much the big boobed cowgirls were being shown before the start of the race? I did. The cameramen were obsessed. It's like, we ain't got grid girls, we got cheerleaders, and look at their tits.
Well, what's the difference between having grid girls and... I mean, it's like, not allowed to have grid girls because they stand there and hold a pole, right? But cheerleaders can stand there and shake their asses and tits at everyone.
Yeah.
Well, it's just political correctness bollocks.
It is.
But the people that banned it, this was their home Grand Prix, and they allowed it.
Yeah.
In that essence, if you know what I mean. But why can't we have cheerleaders at the British Grand Prix?
True. Now, something else, I don't know if you noticed, last year at the American Grand Prix, they did a big introducing all of the drivers and a big spiel, and after that race it was announced that this season the races will start 10 minutes later, and there was a big show of the drivers, and it was actually quite entertaining. It never happened again, and didn't happen in America either. I wonder why.
Pointless.
There you go. Okay, quick look at YouTube. Mr. Snep says it would be a bummer if Ocon wouldn't race next year. I'd agree with Mr. Snep. There's an interesting situation, I think, happening at Williams in that they have signed George Russell on a 2-year deal, who is a Mercedes young driver. And Ocon was asked the question that is he like frustrated that George Russell has taken his seat, and he said he hasn't taken my seat. George Russell deserves to be in Formula One, and he's been given a 2-year deal. He's at the start of his F1 career, which is why he's got a 2-year deal. Can't begrudge that. The problem Ocon's got is that Mercedes don't really want him to sign for a team for more than 1 year. Otherwise, it's going to cost them money to put him in their car if that's what they choose to do. The problem is, even a team like Williams don't want to have Ocon in the car for 1 year to then go to Mercedes and leave them without a driver. So it's a tricky situation. But having seen an interview with Robert Kubica, who is apparently on the shortlist, Ted Kravitz asked him, says, "So, believe you're on the shortlist to be a driver and blah blah blah." And Kubica's reaction was kind of like, "Am I? They've not told me anything." And also, Paul di Resta said, "Look, if it was going to be Robert Kubica, they'd have announced it already."
Yeah,
and that's quite interesting for me. Kubica did say, he says, "I've told Williams I don't want to wait until December to find out. If we wait until December to find out, then my options of doing other things become limited. And he wants the opportunity, if he's not in F1, to explore other avenues, whether it be in another team or other formulas." And I can respect that. So I actually think that it is going to be Ocon, But Mercedes and Williams are working out the details of it. If it's going to be for 1 year, then it's going to cost Mercedes.
But they could end up signing for 2 years and then having Mercedes buy him out like last year, which is still going to cost them.
Yeah.
I think it's because Mercedes are thinking, right, as awful as it is, we need to get rid of Bottas. We need to try something else.
Why don't they say to Bottas, sorry, you lost your seat, but there's one at Williams still for you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, but I mean, that's where he was before. I'm sure he'd fit back in there. The team know him.
He would, but as a driver, you wouldn't want to take that step back, would you? I mean, Kimi Raikkonen's at a different stage. If you're Bottas, you want to do everything you can to hold on to that seat because that's your best chance of winning a championship at the minute.
Yeah.
Problem is his teammate's Hamilton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there was something else I was going to mention then, and it's just totally gone from my mind. That was it. Another problem that Mercedes have, if Ocon does go to Williams, what happens if George Russell dicks him?
Well, then it'd be George Russell's the one that would go to Mercedes. Yeah. But if he signed a 2-year deal, then again, they might as well sign at Ocon 2 years at Williams, sign Bottas for another year, and say, right, you two have got 2 years at Williams to prove to us which one of you is the best guy. Unless Hamilton retires, we take both of you.
Yeah, which could happen. But there's still rumours saying that Mercedes want Verstappen when his deal's up. And, I mean...
No, I don't believe that. And the reason why I don't believe it is that's going to be coming out of Verstappen's camp so that he can then play to Red Bull and say, look, I can go over there and get a big payday and beat you on track. Or I can stay here and you can give me plenty of money.
Or I can go to Ferrari and they can pay me more than you and Mercedes. So, I mean, I know we talked a little bit previously about how I still think there's a chance, I think James said it as well, that Hamilton could end up at Ferrari. I would like to see a switch of... I would love it if Ferrari turned around and said, right, Vettel, your contract, we're not renewing it, you're gone, we're bringing Hamilton in. I would love to see that. I mean, I'm not a Ferrari fan, I never have been, but I would be if they did that.
For me, it all depends on who is in the car at Ferrari. I've always liked Ferraris as the road cars. I've liked Ferrari F1 team, especially when Mansell was in there a long time ago, I know. But for me, it all depends on who's in the car with them. And they've not had a driver in that car since Mansell that I've actually wanted to support. So, with Leclerc going in there, there's one driver I would like to see do well. So, I kind of like next season, I'll be like, come on, show us what you've got, kind of thing. Mainly because I want to see him beat Vettel on an equal playing field. But if Hamilton did go to Ferrari, I would love for him to go there and to win a championship for Ferrari, because I think that would be great for the sport and great for him, and everyone would remember Hamilton as being this guy that's turned Ferrari around, a bit like what Schumacher did. You know, they've gone for so many years without, it was Kimi Raikkonen that won the last one for Ferrari in 2007. So, 11 years so far without a championship. Yeah, they need to do something. And Alonso wasn't the man. Vettel's not the man. So they need to find someone that is.
Yeah. James, you were going to say something a moment ago before Steve went on his little rant.
Oh, well, I forgot.
Horse. It's been a while since we've heard the horse.
Well, you know what? The week I went back to us, I think it was a second podcast we ever did.
Right.
And I noticed I was doing it a lot.
Yeah.
And it was before, like, you'd even spot it. Yeah. So I
forgot what.
But yeah, the Ferrari just need. They've got the car. They just need the driver now.
Yeah.
And I think it'll probably, if Sergio Marchionne was still alive, he would be banging his head against a fucking wall. Because he'll be like, well, we had the car this year to win it.
Yeah.
And because we played it too... I know that Kimi Räikkönen's just won the US Grand Prix, but really, he's done a similar job to Bottas this year, really. And no offence, as great as it is to see Kimi Räikkönen win a race and all that lot, he wouldn't be up there fighting for world championships. So yeah, he's a solid driver and he's going to get you maybe up there in constructors. But if you're putting all that effort in to win, you want two people that are going to push each other and absolutely wring the neck of the car.
Yeah.
And Vettel can do that on his day, but when he's not on his day, his head's like a fucking mashed potato.
You're right. I mean, it's like you look, Ricciardo and Verstappen, teammates. Yeah, they push each other. They have done. Hamilton, Rosberg, teammates. They pushed each other, and it was great to watch, even when they imploded.
You know that obviously, like Ricciardo signed for Renault.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure if I were Ferrari, I would be contacting him, going, "You fancy coming and replacing Vettel, and we'll pay you out your contract?" I'd be doing that.
Ocon would have a racing seat then.
Yeah, Ocon could go to Renault. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's been a long time since Ferrari have done something that wows people, and that's something that they used to do. I mean, all the old stories of the Ferrari international assistants, it's born from something, and it's from Ferrari either cheating and getting away with it, or from doing amazing things. And they don't really do amazing things anymore, unfortunately. Okay.
Oh, you just reminded me.
Yeah.
What do you think to this report of Ferrari trying to go all Italian? Have you heard about this?
What do you mean? No.
Well, apparently they're trying to do it where all their staff is Italian and have it as an Italian-based team. So it's more because they understand that they've got a lot of support in Italy because it's Ferrari and it's an Italian team, and it seems like it comes across like a national team. Well, apparently they've got this philosophy where they're trying to go all Italian, so which is fine, but there's no Italian F1 drivers though.
I mean, I've always figured that it's mainly Italian people. I did see an interesting interview with Arriva Bene. Well, it wasn't an interesting interview. There was just one piece of it which was interesting, and that was that just before Arriva Bene became team manager, a lot of the staff at Ferrari, a lot of the mechanics and engineers, were actually basically handing in their notice. They were quitting. And then when they found out that Arriva Bene was going to be the team manager, they said, "Oh, okay, we'll stay." And that's mainly because Arriva... I mean, I didn't know this about Arriva Bene. He was employed by Enzo Ferrari himself. And he was employed by Enzo Ferrari just because of the way he looked at one of the Ferrari cars. Which sounds a bit stupid, but it was a long time ago. He was at a test track, and he was there helping out, and he was looking at the cars, and Enzo Ferrari basically said, "We'll hire him because of the way he looks at my car shows me he's a Ferrari man." And since then, he's worked his way up all the way to team manager, which I can kind of respect, even if I'm not a fan of how he conducts himself. James's microphone's going on a little voyage by the sounds of it.
But yeah, well then after that, he were a big marketing man for Marlboro. and basically he worked out all deals for getting Marlboro, Ferrari, and all that lot. And I remember first time that I actually noticed him in a garage way before he were team principal. And I think it showed one at Gary. I think it might have been like. I'm trying to remember. It might have been like when Alonso were at Ferrari, maybe like 2010, 2011, or 2012, and I think Alonso had like I think it was a 2010 Spanish Grand Prix when Alonso just did that demon start up the inside of everybody down towards turn one and then led the race from there. And it cut to the Ferrari inside the Ferrari garage. And you know, like Red Bull, they've got like that little VIP area in
the pig pen.
Yeah. Well, the Ferrari had something similar to that. And the Riva Bene were in there. And everybody were like clapping and smiling. And he were at the back just fucking like punching the air going, fucking yeah. And they're like, he loves his job. But that's what you need, I think. I think you need somebody with a bit of passion, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely do. What you need is a bit of meow. Okay, quickly back to YouTube. Drew has joined us a little while ago. Hello, Drew. Drew's asking, will there be a dumbass of the day? Well, we did Dick of the Day at the start of the show. I could tell you who it was, or you could go and watch the start of the show when we're done. Dave the Arp says he can't stay long. He's on his mobile data. Hope you guys are okay. Yeah, we're much better. Thank you very much. I hope your house move is going well, Dave. I see you've been doing a bit of painting and decorating. Tell you what, James, have you heard about Dave's internet?
What? No.
He's moved house. He was given a date for his internet like a week after he'd moved. Comes to the day of it being installed, and they get in touch with him saying, no, it'll be another week and a half.
Yeah, I tell you that's
I tell you what.
When I moved here, just a set of absolute dickheads.
Yeah.
Dave the Art was on about trying to blag the Wi-Fi code off his neighbours.
Yeah, it's obviously
I guess he's not got it yet.
I was going to say it didn't work if he's on his mobile data. Okay. At some point, we're going to need to do our predictions for Mexico. But I just want to get a sort of final thought from you guys about this weekend's race. Was it a good race? Was it exciting? Was it an advert for Formula One? And as one of the pundits said, should they change part of the final sector? After the long DRS zone, you got the left-hander. Should they then change the next 3 corners to make it better leading into that long right-hander? So was it a good race, and should they change the track?
It was a good race, but I do think the final 2 corners just need changing. 90-degree left, and then another tight, just slightly tighter than 90-degree left. It just, I don't know. I think you've obviously got the big braking zone down towards turn 1. I do think that you need something like possibly the penultimate corner going down to a big wide braking zone or something like that.
Well, I kind of agree. I wouldn't change the 3 corners after the DRS straight, because that's where you get a lot of battles, where you get the cars trying to go up the inside on one corner, so they've got the outside on another, to then get the inside on the right hand.
That twisty bit where Hamilton and Max were, there's no change there.
Yeah, I think that's quite good.
I think it's just the final 2 corners.
Okay. I think that needs changing to what we always say needs changing to Turkey's last 3 corners. That'd work.
Yeah.
That'd work.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
I mean, there's enough space there for them to make a change. That's for sure. Okay, I think I have covered just about everything I was going to cover from the race. So, for any of the viewers, if you've got anything that you want to ask us or any questions you want to put to us about the race or anything Formula One, feel free to do so. You can if you want.
What the fuck is James up to?
I have no idea.
Is it making a load of noise?
It's funny that he never hears any of the noise your microphone makes. It's like you got the builders in.
No, all it is I'm just holding my iPad and just scrolling through some stuff. So
you scroll very loudly. Anyway, right, okay, so we're going to do our Mexico predictions then. Now we'll do our usual 4, and we'll do Dick of the Day again, but we'll also need one additional thing to do a prediction on. So for any of the viewers that are listening in, if you've got anything that you want to recommend as a prediction for us to do, feel free to pop it in the YouTube chat, and we'll get to that in a few moments' time.
I think I've already got the extra one.
Oh, okay.
It is. How much of the fucking race are we going to be watching? Perez.
All of it. We'll come on next week and go, okay, guys, what happened in the race? I don't know, I only saw a pink car.
Well, if you remember, it was at Mexico last year where it really pissed us off how much they were looking at the crowd. And yeah, it was one of the first races where we actually said they look at the crowd they look away from the action way too much.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that should be a prediction. I'm just bringing that up.
It's a good point though, because they did show the crowd a hell of a lot in the stadium section. But interestingly though, a lot of what Red Bull have been doing recently with their engine changes and stuff like that. For example, they changed parts of Max's car, partly because he damaged it, but also because take the penalty at this race when he's already out of position, and then he's got new parts pretty much for Mexico. And the Red Bulls were very strong in Mexico last year. Verstappen was very strong. Ricciardo had a late charge against Vettel, if you remember. So it could be an interesting one to see how they get on. But I would say, of the races that are left, I would have liked to have seen Hamilton take the title in America, because the way the race panned out, it just would have been brilliant. If he'd have overtaken Verstappen and Raikkonen, won the race and won the title, it'd have topped off a great race. But at the same time, if you remember last year he won it at Mexico, it was a party atmosphere, and that was great to see. The race weren't great, but that after the race, there was also do you remember when he was running back to the pits and some guy ran into another guy and knocked him on his arse?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
He was running back to the pits to find his mum, but his mum had already made her way to the podium.
To the podium, that's right. So Mexico wouldn't be a bad place for him to win it, but at the same time, I don't know. I think I'd like to. I was going to say I'd like to see him wrap it up at Brazil, but they've already raced at Brazil, haven't they? Have they? No, Brazil's due. Yeah, it's Brazil. It's Mexico, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, in a way, I'd like to see him do it at Brazil.
Maybe that should be it then. Maybe that should be the next. That should be the additional prediction. Will Hamilton wrap it up?
Maybe, could be. One of the reasons I'd like it to be Brazil is, obviously, everybody knows he's a fan of Senna. I'm interested to see if the Brazil fans or the Brazilians are a fan of him.
I think that they were not very nice to him in his first few years, obviously because the intense rivalry with Massa. But
and beating him there.
After that, I think a lot of them got behind him.
If he does win the championship there, he'll only get it nicked once it leaves the circuit.
That is true. Okay, let's get on to our predictions anyway. So, Steve, who's going to... Daft question. Who's going to take pole position?
I want to say Hamilton, but I've got a feeling it might be someone else. But I'm going to go with my gut and say Hamilton.
Okay, James.
I'm going to stick with Verstappen.
I'd already wrote mine down, and I wrote Max. So James is going for Verstappen.
That was the one I would have gone with if it wasn't Hamilton.
Interesting. Okay, winner.
Hamilton.
Okay. James.
Sebastian Vettel.
Ooh.
Sorry, I'm laughing.
I'm gonna go with. Oh, tempted to go with. No, you know what? 2 in a row. Kimi Raikkonen, 2 in a row. I'm gonna go Kimi. Right, your podium 3 then, Steve.
Hamilton takes the victory. Max Verstappen second. Raikkonen third.
James.
Vettel first.
I can sense a bit of joy in your voice here, James. What's going on?
He's edging his bets. He doesn't want him to, really.
No, normally I go with my gut, and then my gut's always wrong. So I'm going opposite to what I'm thinking.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go Vettel first. Verstappen second. And
someone needs to oil that door.
that's Ricardo first.
Oh, Ricardo. Okay. I'm gonna go Kimi, Max, and Hamilton, which means Hamilton's going to take the title, unless Vettel finishes 4th. Okay, first to crash out, Steve.
I'm going to say no one. No crashing out.
Ooh. Okay, James. I know what's coming here. Hamilton. That's why he had a little chuckle in his voice a moment ago. Right, okay, Hamilton. And I'm going to go with Perez.
Ooh.
Oh, that'd be nice, and then at least I won't have to watch him, won't we? So.
Oh no, we would. We'd have to watch him walk all the way back to his motorhome, get changed, then all the way to his own home.
Watch him shower.
Yeah. Okay, just watch him shower, as I then say, Dick of the Day. Oh God. So, okay, Steve, who's going to get Dick of the Day?
Oh dear. I'm going to go with... I don't know. Come back to me. I need a minute to think.
Okay, James. Who are you thinking is going to be Dick of the Day, and who are you going to choose as your Dick of the Day?
Kimi Raikkonen.
Ooh.
He's going to drive into Hamilton.
Oh.
By accident.
Ooh, okay.
By accidentally, deliberately.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go for... Who am I going to go for? I'm going to go for... Magnussen. It's got to be.
Okay, I've got mine.
Go on.
Partly.
Ooh. Random one. Okay, we're going to need our final prediction then. Oh shit, I think my chair just broke.
Alright. What position will Perez finish? with it being his home Grand Prix.
Okay, yeah, I'd go with that. James, have you got anything to fight against that?
Sorry, what did you say, Steve?
We should all predict what position Perez finishes because it's his home Grand Prix.
Last.
Okay. So, Perez position it will be then. James is going last. Okay, I've said he's going to be the first to crash out, but I think someone's going to retire before he does. So I'm going to go for 18th, and it's a DNF. Steve?
9th.
9th. Okay. Right, that's our predictions locked in then, and we'll find out on Tuesday how we got on with those. Whew, right. I think I'm just about done on you. From what I've got that I can remember.
You've covered all my notes.
Let me just, check my pictures. Go on, James, you were going to say something?
I've got no notes, but I can't think of anything else.
Oh, James, I've got a question for you. No, go on.
Yeah.
You go first. You go first, one.
There was something, and I don't know if this is a big white lie or what, but I've heard that apparently Danny Ricciardo, when he got back to his motorhome, punched a hole in the wall.
Mm.
And apparently Helmut Marko wasn't that happy about it.
Mm.
And was basically saying you're going to have to pay for that.
Well, cheaper than paying for the car, I suppose.
Yeah.
The thing is, in Japan, you could tell he was frustrated because he blew his voice out screaming, and I don't blame him for screaming. And you could tell he was annoyed at this one. Especially, I mean, I saw a few of the interviews with him from before the race and his attempt at an American accent. And he looked happy, and he looked like he was enjoying being in America. And we know what it's like when you do racing on video games and you practice and practice and practice and you get wiped out in the first few laps, or your car, well, we don't have it where your car breaks down, but when you get wiped out, internet shuts off, whatever it may be, or your electric runs out, it's fucking annoying. So having that real life experience must be fucking awful, especially with how many times it's happened. I mean, I'm looking at a mug now that I think would fit Danny Ricciardo. It's basically a cartoon Deadpool on a unicorn, and it says, "You can just supercalifragilistic kiss my acidosis." I'm surprised I got that out in one. But yeah, I think he needs one of those bugs. Right, okay. I got one thing to tell you guys about.
What's that?
Well, I went to B&Q yesterday with my mum. She wanted to get a few things, and while we were eating a sausage,
did she say, "Can't you wait till Wednesday"?
You've lost me.
She didn't say that then.
No.
No, she normally wants to go on Wednesdays because it's OAP day to get 20% off or something.
I didn't know that. No, anyway, so we're sat in the car park eating a sausage and bacon cob, and Dad texts my mum saying, while you're at B&Q, can you pick up some glue for paper? And me and my mum sat there and I was like, whoa, I wonder if, like, what glue does he want? Now, think of like types of glue that you could use on paper. What comes to mind?
Pritt stick.
Oh, okay, Pritt stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I sat there and said, I wonder if he wants Pritt stick or like a tub or a pot of glue. Mum turns around and goes, well, if you get him Pritt stick. At that point, I just crumbled. It's not called Pritt stick, Mother.
Yeah,
oh, wait. Oh, you know the one that you push up? I said, no, Mother. Go on, James.
think I say pricks do.
Now you know why Vicky giggles whenever she asks you to glue some artwork together for her.
She's asked me to do some painting. I did, and she was just like, oh, because she asked me to do like a drawing for a classroom of like a doctor. So I just went on the internet and typed in cartoon doctor, and the doctor from Family Guy came up. So I thought, oh, I'll just do that.
Right.
I did that, and obviously Seth MacFarlane's got a similar design for fat men. And she just came in the room and went, why have you drawn Peter Griffin? And I went, what? I can't put that up in classroom. I'm like, why not? He's just a doctor. And then, like, I'd done, like, a little goofy ginger nurse next to it. And she was like, I can't do that at school. Bloody hell. No, what's wrong with it? No, what's wrong with it?
Well, at least you didn't do, like, a sexy nurse's outfit.
Yeah, exactly. Could have been worse.
Could have been. Definitely could have been. Okay. I know I'm just about done. I was going to say, with it being our first proper show we've had for a while, I was going to ask whether we don't do an after show tonight.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
So we can work ourselves back into doing that. What I will say though is Ray has joined us on the last couple of podcasts, and I want to thank Ray for doing that. I do know that Ray has been very busy this evening, and James, I think you will fully understand his pain on this one. Ray has been editing together the footage from Stephen Ray's first league race from last Thursday. He spent quite some time editing together the footage until he messaged me today saying my computer's done an update and it's deleted all of the files.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, so Ray has been re-editing this evening. I don't know how he's got on with it. Hopefully...
It's up and available now. It's on Facebook as well.
Alright, okay. Well done, Ray. He's probably fucking knackered now. But yeah, it's...
I'll check that out. Has it got Ray's brilliant commentary?
It would have had if he'd not deleted the files, so it's just race footage without commentary for round one. But going forward, he wants to do commentary on the other races.
Well, I'll check that out then. So that's on YouTube. Just type in dynamic
GT League. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, James. I know you weren't able to race with us on Thursday, which was a shame. But obviously, you had you're too fishy. But I tell you what, it was a really fucking good race.
I'll tell you what you would have called it, James. Epic.
Epic.
Absolutely epic. Right, and if there were predictions to be done or anything like that, and to choose a dick of the day, it would have been Ray.
That's nice.
He's running, all right, get this, all right, it's a 40-minute race, yeah? On the 39th minute, he decides to pit for a fresh set of tyres. As he's going in the pits, he's like, shit, it's going to be the last lap. Comes out of the pits and he's like in sixth or fifth or something like that. Yeah.
Oh dear. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Oh, he had a solid third place in the bag as well.
Oh dear.
Where did he finish?
Just having a look now. 8th.
Oh no. To be fair, in long races it's easy to lose track of things like that. It really is. But the best bit for me, James, was because we're racing at Brands Hatch Short and Indy. I was go on.
I did watch your footage other night.
Did you see the bit where I said, "Oh, look at that great battle over there"? No, don't look at the battle. I've got off.
Yeah. It did look like a good battle through turn one.
Yeah, it did.
But the pace of the guy that won though, that were somewhat rapid. That.
Yeah, we've all got to bag some points this week because he's on holiday.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone needs to try and win the race.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting. What was it? Where we're racing at this week, Steve?
Blue Moon Bay Infield A, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Just about the guy that won. His name's Callum. All right. Before he joined quite late in the when we got the session open. One of the guys that was in our chat party with us, Twilight. He's like, I hope Callum don't come because if he comes, we've all got no hope. And as soon as Paul joined, he's like, oh fuck.
Paul? Do you mean Callum?
Callum. It's because his middle name's Paul.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, as soon as Callum joined, it was like, oh fuck. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, Callum is fast.
Yeah.
He was faster than most people. You know, like we have like a weak bit of boost on to try and close the pack up a bit. He was able to pull away from drivers that are on faster tyres than him. He was on the hard compound tyre, when everyone else is on the soft or the medium, and he was just pulling away.
He didn't pull away from me.
It did when you spun, when you come off.
When did I spin?
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
no,
I was leading at that point. I was leading when that happened.
Second,
you were second because you said, "Oh shit, I followed you." No, he didn't pull away from me, but I couldn't catch him. So yeah. Anyway, last thing I was going to say, James, what did you think of the potential new commentary name I came up with for you?
Oh, I didn't know. Sorry, I didn't know you did.
Have a look in the I'll Tell You What chat. I sent it this morning, I think it was. Was it this morning? No, it weren't this morning. It was yesterday. Yeah.
Don't say what it is. Let James find it and read it out.
I was thinking American accent as well for it. Or Australian. Australian would work.
Dick Hammerbush.
Yeah. Good day, mate. I'm Dick Hammerbush.
My name's Dick Hammerbush.
Oh, Dick Hammerbush.
Was that Indian, James? Oh,
yeah.
Oh no, I'm a Dick Hammerbush. I don't know what that was.
I don't know where you're from.
No, neither do I.
I say that to Vicky whenever she tries to do an accent, and I'm like, "Where are you from?"
Oh dear. Right, okay. I think it's time before we lose control. I think it's time we call it a night. So, thank you everyone for tuning in, listening in. Come and check us out next Tuesday, where we'll more than likely be on at our regular time of 8 o'clock. But we'll see. And we'll have a chat about the Mexican Grand Prix, and we'll find out this weekend if Hamilton's going to take the title this weekend or not, or whether there's going to be an implosion for Hamilton in the last few races, which according to James's predictions could happen if Hamilton is going to be first to crash out.
I don't want it to happen, but I need some points.
You do realise you're going to end up getting 0. It will be a case of I was going to pick him and I would have got the points every single one of them, but anyway. Right.
Well, he's going to say that anyway, isn't he?
Yeah, I would. Right, Steve, thanks for joining us. James, it's good to have you back on form. Can definitely tell just in the sound of your voice you're much happier. Although need to work on your baking skills, unfortunately. Or
Forgot about that.
Or at least your oven usage skills. The thing is, I've done that before, and with my oven, if I put the grill on and close the door, it gets smoky as fuck. But anyway, right. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you come and check us out next Tuesday. Have a great weekend.
Ta-da!
See ya. Meow.
Meow. Meow. Meow. I love that. Bye-bye.
Blah 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 blah.